Hey everyone, welcome back to another webinar. I hope you're finding these webinars useful and helpful. And of course, if you have any ideas, any topics that you want me to do a webinar on, then please let me know so that I can create them for you. All right, I'm trying to readjust this window here because it's a little too big, but it's not letting me do that. Here, I'll just make that bigger. All right, today we're going to be talking about specific content, content for a specific stage of your client, audience, patient, whatever. The idea is, I've spoken a lot about content, about how to use AI to write content, about, types of content. So today we're going to be talking about and the stages and what that your client, patient, whatever is in. Now, by content, it's not necessarily written content, although of course everything starts off with written content. Even when you make a video, you have to start off with some kind of writing. When I make these webinars, I start off with some kind of writing, but the idea is to formulate it to a specific stage. And I am giving you a prompt that so far I've been using it and it's pretty freaking awesome. So you're going to love it, I think, to be able to write what it is that you need for your specific person or persons. Okay, so many, as I've said before, many aging in place professionals, I don't care what you are, a contractor, designer, um, you know, uh, equipment, whatever services it is that you provide for aging in place, um, you're very, very good at what you do, but not necessarily always very good about how to tell people about what you do and address their specific issue at that specific time. So that's what we're going to be really focusing on, is the specific issue at the specific time. Okay. The core problem is what, well, I'm going to read it. Many professionals unintentionally create content that speaks to nobody. A lot of people look for specific keyword phrases, which is good. You need to do that, but it's usually ending up being generic. So the problem is not the information that you're giving out, but the perspective of how it's written. Is it addressing the core problem at the time that that person is in, the stage? Think about dementia. When you're first diagnosed with dementia, or when you see somebody in the early stages of dementia, they're pretty functional. They can still do so many things. But then as it progresses, that changes. So each stage of dementia is a different core problem for the family caregivers. So you can talk about the exact same topic, how to set up a shower for someone with dementia. The setup system or the setup process at the beginning stages is going to be very different from the latter stages. So if you think of it that way, and that is true for just about everything that family caregivers go through, no matter what it is. So also, the other thing you have to think of is the perspective from both sides of the aisle there. Because when you're writing information, unless it's very, very specific to a family caregiver, the information can be read or can be addressed to both sides, meaning the older adult, the aging parent usually is what it is, and the family taking care of that aging parent. So the perspective of that problem is going to be different from both. The senior perspective can be, how to stay independent and confident at home. And the adult perspective is, well, how to prevent the fall that could change the parent's life. And the reality is, not just the parent's life, but the family's life as well, or the particular caregiver's life. They may have to leave their job. They may have to go part-time. They may have to give up their home and move in with the aging parent, or the aging parent has to move in with them. There are so many people involved in this, in the aging process. It's not just the senior person. All right. So what drives the person to look for your services is going to be what you should be writing about at that particular time. So just because you write an article about fall prevention in September doesn't mean you should write more articles about fall prevention every week or every month from then on, using different perspectives, using different scenarios, all of that. And honestly, when it comes to the internet, it if it sees just one piece of information about a topic coming from you, it doesn't really consider you an expert in that field. So you want to write as much as you possibly can about that particular topic. It's kind of why I like the idea of picking a topic per month, because then you can concentrate that entire month on writing a daily piece of topic, videos, podcasts, whatever it is that you're going to be talking about or doing. Focus on that specific topic. That way you get a lot of information out there. And in the eyes of the internet, in the eyes of search engines, and more importantly these days in the eyes of AI, it will then see you as an expert in that niche, and that's how you get found online, at least. Okay, so think about how you currently create most of your content. And again, I don't care if it's written, videos, shorts, TikTok, whatever it is. Is it mostly seniors? Is it mostly adult children? Is it 50-50, which I hope it is, honestly? Or are you just not sure? If you're not sure, then take a moment to look through what you've written or what you've put out in the last year. What kind of marketing material have you put out in the last year? It may take you a day or two to look through all of that. Put that all on a spreadsheet, submit it to an AI program, and say, what do you think? Are these topics for seniors, for children, for 50-50? What's the story? And you can start researching and getting information there. You don't have to, do it necessarily by hand. Did I go to the next one? Yeah. Okay. So older adults. Basically, what older adults want, generally speaking, of course, everyone is different. So these are just generalizations. So independence, control, dignity, confidence, practical solutions, and less disruption to their lives. What they fear is losing freedom, being treated like a child, becoming dependent on others, and leaving their home. I have a neighbor who's in her mid-80s down the street, and her children live all over the country. Her siblings live all over the country, and she has already had hip surgery. She has vertigo. She has heart issues that she goes to physicians for every month. She's an artist. She's very independent, and she refuses to move closer to family members because she doesn't want to lose her freedom. She doesn't want to be treated like a child. She doesn't want to become dependent, even on her neighbors. And she definitely does not want to leave her home, even though the home is not really suitable for her any longer. It's a 2-story home, and that's her fear. Eventually, my fear is that eventually she'll have to do it, and then it will be extremely traumatic for her. Instead of her taking control and planning it, she's going to have to do it, which if you're in the aging in place niche, you know that that's what you often see, which is sad, honestly. Okay, so the words that often resonate, which are words that you can use, and of course, check out the thesaurus and check out for related words, but they're basically independence, convenience, comfort, confidence, choice, staying active. Those are the kind of words that you want to use when you're addressing article for older adults. Now, for adult children, What they often want is peace of mind, not only for themselves, they don't have to worry, but for their aging parent as well. Clear guidance, a step-by-step, what do I do next? What now? Reduced risk of everything, of falls, of fires, of accidents, everything. Expert advice from professionals, actionable next steps, which are basically clear guidance. It's really kind of the same thing. And the least amount of disruption to their lives, because they already have existing lives. They have children, they have families, they have jobs, they have, hobbies and volunteer work and whatever. So, but what they fear is missing the warning signs, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, making the wrong decision, choosing the wrong assisted living, choosing the wrong doctor, not choosing the good doctor. There's so many decisions are involved in the process. Family conflict, especially with siblings, uncles, aunts, whatever. A preventable crisis, again, coulda, shoulda, woulda, and a disruption of their lives. It's a big fear for most family caregivers, especially if it's a solo caregiver. So words for this audience that often resonates are safety, planning, protection, warning signs, decision making, and resources. So these are the kind of words that you would use for that audience. So there are basically 4 stages where you can write content for. You can write the same content or the same topic. You can write about the same topic. Let's say fall prevention in the bathroom. You can write about that for stage 1, where is basically you are just educating. Person doesn't see a problem, oh, we're not at that stage yet. We don't need it yet, but this is good and general information that everyone should know, kind of thing. Stage 2, concern. Okay, now the issue becomes visible. Uh-oh, I saw mom slip on the rug. She didn't fall, but she slipped, or I don't know, she's kind of having a hard time getting over that lip into the shower or in the bathtub. Okay, the issue becomes visible. Stage 3 is action. Now they're actively beginning to seek solutions, either the senior or the aging or the family caregiver is beginning to actively seek solutions. What do I do? They're starting to type into Google or chat or whatever, what do I do if mom can't get into the bathtub? What are some options? What's some equipment? What do I do? And then stage 4 is the crisis, which is what we often see is something's already happened. Mom fell, broke a hip. Dad fell, crashed through the shower glass doors. Been there, done, I haven't done that, but I've treated patients that have done that. Something's already happened. So now everyone's on board. Oh my God, what do we do? That same topic could be written in completely 4 different ways for 4 different stages of 2 different audiences. So you can see how you can get a lot of articles out on the same topic written in different ways. Okay, so stage 1, awareness. The senior thinks, well, I've lived here for 40 years. Why do I need changes now? Haven't we all heard that even from our own parents 100,000 times? At this stage, no one's looking for solutions, especially the seniors. I don't need it yet. That's not what I need. I don't need it yet. So the content has to gently introduce the idea, sort of like planting the seed. But from the adult kids, they're like, hey, mom seems fine. I think I'm worrying too much. And dismissing, denying that things may change. And some people have a very, very hard time with change. I don't care how old you are. So content at this point should validate their instincts about, hey, mom, dad, getting old, think about it, and help them to recognize the subtle signs that they should be paying attention to. So the article would be focused more on that. When it comes to stage 2, the concern, now the issue is visible. Something has shifted. Someone has seen something that may be a subtle sign. So the senior would say, okay, yeah, I've fallen a few times, or I've almost fallen a few times, but, it's nothing to worry about. Content at this stage should really be, offering very practical, dignity preserving solutions, rather than, oh my God, you're going to fall, or catastrophic situations or whatever. You want to gently introduce the idea that, look, if you plan for it, you can stay independent longer. So let's just fix those few issues that you had that caused you to fall or caused you to slip or whatever. The adult child thinks, okay, dad's balance seems a little wonky. Nothing is, it looks a little weird now. So now the adult child, usually, or older families really, other family members, can see that they're starting to move now from passive, like they're fine, I don't need to worry about it yet, to, uh-oh, I need to start worrying about it. So the content at this stage should help them to understand what they're seeing and the steps to consider next. I mean, is it, medication? Is it, poor lighting? Is it, the progression of a disease? What could possibly be? And who do they talk to about these issues? And what do they ask when they do talk to that person? So this is usually the beginning of when you start seeing people wanting to reach out for professional help. So showcase your expertise at this point. Before, for stage one, you're just educating. I mean, yeah, you're going to showcase your expertise, of course, because you're the author of whatever it is you're creating as far as content. But you want to, at this stage, really tie in the solutions to your expertise. Building a ramp, um, creating a workbook, consultation, lighting, whatever it is. All right. Now, stage three is really where they begin to start buying, start contacting, okay, hey, I need help. Someone is actively seeking solutions. And this is what they call a high intent territory, where you are basically, you never want to sell, but you're more in education / selling kind of mode, because these people at this stage are almost always ready to buy. So the seniors are thinking, okay, lots of things are happening, things are going wrong, but what can I do to stay home? I really, really, really want to stay home. The senior is motivated and ready. So the content that you create should focus on practical steps, product recommendations, professional services, and it should always be framed around independence, dignity, giving them control, decision making. They're the ones who are preparing their environment to grow older in. It's up to them. So these are the things that you can do. And don't make it so overwhelming. Do it piece by piece. Because, if you get a 30-page book on everything, it's overwhelming. Okay. What services can help keep mom or dad safe is what the child is thinking. They're in research mode. Okay, they're looking up, what is going on locally. Who do I call? What kind of person do I call? What's a geriatric care manager? Is it time for assisted living? How do I know? How do I find a really good assisted living? How do I find people to come into mom's house? All of that is research. So in this stage, for the families, you want to provide comparisons. What's the difference between a nursing home and assisted living? What's the difference between this assisted living and this assisted living? What's the difference between a caretaker and a CNA, or anything? Checklists, workbooks, guidance on how to evaluate the options and answer the difficult conversations and questions that they have, and help them to have those difficult conversations with their mom or dad. Those are also very, very good types of articles. Okay, God, I keep skipping. Stage 4. Okay, something's already happened. This is when most people end up calling someone. So now the emotions are sky high. I can't tell you how many family members I have spoken with where the patient comes into rehab. I didn't work in acute care, so I never saw them at that stage. but I saw them after, which they were usually only in acute care just a few days, and then all of a sudden they were in rehab, sometimes for a week, sometimes for many months, depending on the injury. And the families were just distraught. They didn't know what to do, where to go, who to talk to. They didn't even know what questions to ask. So this is a very high emotional stage. So expect backlash, expect anger, expect confusion, expect all of that if you are speaking to these people. But if you're just creating the content, what you want to do is you want to, for the senior, you want to reduce the amount of fear that they have about what's going on. You also want to acknowledge the fact that they are may now be grieving what happened to them, their loss of function, that they're facing an uncertain future. Content has to be compassionate, empathetic, reassuring, and it has to focus on what is still possible. You always want to focus on what you can still do, what you can still give, how you can get back to what you were doing before, or some form of what you can be what you were doing before. All right, from the adult child's perspective, suddenly they're thrown into this new world of managing multiple decisions, and they're guilty about maybe not doing enough, coulda, shoulda, woulda, and they're desperate for some very clear step-by-step non-lingo guidance. Content should be structured, calm, and step-by-step. This is very much the crisis stage, and it will calm down for sure. But depending on when you come in, at the beginning of the crisis, at middle, the end, whatever, they may have already spoken to 10 other people and they're calmer. But depending on when, you may catch them at all different levels. I was just with a family where the woman had back surgery. She wouldn't come down on, her husband got a stair lift for her. She wouldn't use the stair lift because she was scared. The husband doesn't like people in the house, so he didn't want nurses coming in. He didn't want PT coming in. The woman refused to go to rehab after surgery. When I mentioned that furniture may have to get moved for her to accommodate her walk using a walker, he absolutely freaked out, completely freaked out, and basically just threw me out of the house. So they were not ready for what was happening. They were in pure crisis, the two of them, and it's not ending up very well for both of them. But it happens. It happens. So be prepared. All right. So how do you identify what stage your audience is in? Okay. So there are basically 3 signals. 1, look at the language that they're using. Okay. So I'm not going to read all of this. I'll let you go through it on the PDF that you can download, because every stage, the awareness, concern, action, crisis, the language is going to be different. What the senior says and what the adult children will say, or family caregivers. You want to, a good trick when you're speaking with someone is to mirror their language back to them. That's just a general conversational type of tip. Doesn't necessarily have to, you can use that with anyone. If they're in the concern stage, you don't want to create content that is, in the action stage. They're not ready for it yet. So you want to address the stage that they're at and mirror that concern back. If the senior says, I've noticed a few things lately and, I don't know, I'm a little worried. And you can say, I absolutely, hear you that you've noticed a few things and you're worried. Let's see if I can help you, or, whatever you want to say. All right, again, you can read this in the PDF. I don't want to read every single piece. In signal 2, you want to listen to the question that they're asking. And this is a good place to go to reddit.com. And there, actually, you know what? Let me fix this. Hold on a second. Okay. I wanted to put in a little bit about Reddit and Google's People also ask, because those are places that you can look for kinds of questions. Unless, of course, every time you get a question from a client, a patient, whomever, you should always write that down, because these are questions that a lot of other people are asking as well. But if you don't have that, you can search on Reddit. Google's People also ask for types of questions. So if you have any questions about this particular process, feel free to contact me. I'm more than happy to help. All right. Signal number 3, you want to look at how they found you. Did they go on Google, and what did they type in to look for you, if they can even remember? If you have analytics on your website, or Pinterest or whatever, and it can show you the phrases that they typed in, then you can get that. That's often, they don't do that anymore as much as they used to, which is unfortunate. But there may be some programs out there that I'm not aware of that do that. And then you want to look at, what did they click on? What other resources have they looked at? What other phrases have they been typing in? Were they referred by a doctor or a hospital? Did they find you on Pinterest, Facebook, LinkedIn? How did they find you? Because that gives you an idea of the process of where they are and what they're looking for. Match your article, your topic, your content, whatever, to the search intent, not the keyword phrase. And the prompt that I wrote will help you with that. All right. So before writing any piece of content, you want to ask yourself these questions. Has the person acknowledged that there's a problem? If no, then write an awareness content. Your job is to educate them and just plant the seed about an issue. Are they actively looking for solutions? If yes, then write action content. Be specific, practical, and direct. Give steps. Don't just give a general information. Tell them exactly what they need to do. Believe me, all that information is already out there. You're not handing them the key to you're not sharing any secrets. Everything anybody wants to know is out there, so why shouldn't you be the one that tells them that? All right. Number 3, has something already happened? If yes, then write crisis content. Lead with calm, empathetic, and next steps. Okay, let's take a step back. Let's breathe. This is what you need to do. List 1, list 2, list 3. It's not time for long explanations. They don't have time for that. It's too emotional. They're too emotional at this stage. Believe me, crisis stage is very emotional. All right. So some of the common mistakes that I saw in my 25 years of internet marketing, when I asked clients to write something for their site, the worst things that they ever did, and this is where I got this information from, is using fear-based messaging. Things like, if you don't use my service, your house is going to go on fire, or, if you don't use my service, you're going to end up spending so much more money, blah, blah, blah. Okay, sorry, had to get the door. All right, so fear-based messaging doesn't work. So you want to, whether it's for the senior or the adult, child, you want to say something more encouraging. You calm them down. It's not a big deal. It's okay. We can work on it. Simple changes like ABC can help you stay active and independent. We can work together on this. Let's do it. That kind of thing. Anything that is empowering, that helps them feel like, their world hasn't ended. Mistake number 2 that I saw a lot was independence messaging. Adult children are not motivated by inspiration. So you don't have to be so inspiring and empathetic with them. That's really more for the adult, for the seniors. The adult children, the family, are motivated by information, risk reduction, clear action plans. They want to know what to do. How can they keep their aging parents safe? and how can it be the least disruptive to their own lives. Um, Adult children, they want data, they want evidence, what are the actual risks? What does the research say? They need to understand what can go wrong. They need to have solutions step by step. Don't make them generalized. And if you don't know, or there is no research, or solutions are vague, then admit that. Say there, and don't ever, whenever you do a message, don't ever say, I will. You don't want to have anything absolute. It's I can, or this may, or it should, or it could, because every single person is different, every single environment is different, every single family is different. So you never want to make it so that it's an absolute guarantee of anything. There is no guarantee in life. We all know that. But when you're in crisis mode, um, you tend to look for that. Okay, step by step is gold for children. So if you can create checklists, workbooks, anything at all, then do that. You can even turn around and sell them, or include that as part of your package. But that's definite, and it's a great way to market your services anyway. And to brand you put your information on everything that you write. I'm talking about if it's like a printable PDF, something. Okay. As I've said before, you don't want to, or you shouldn't always write one piece, or create one piece of content for both audiences. They come from two different perspectives. They're at different stages sometimes. The senior parent may be a stage 1 and the child may be at stage 3. It can be completely different. So, but for the same topic, you can definitely write multiple pieces of content. So an example would be, for an older adult, it's how better lighting helps you to stay independent. And so that's telling them, hey, if you just have this amount of lighting, and why you need more lighting, well, it can keep you safer. It can, you can maintain the lifestyle that you enjoy. You can stay in your home longer, and all it requires is just a little bit more lighting. Whereas for the family, the adult child, you want to give them the steps. These are 7 signs. These are 7 steps. These are 7 types of lights. These are, this is the research of why you need more lighting, and this is how it can help, and this is where to place them. You can even do that in multiple articles, step 1, step 2, however you want to do it, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, and it can give them the guidance that they need of what to do. Then it's up to them, of course, to work with their family member on, okay, how can I talk to them? Because then that's another article that you can add to the series of articles of, okay, so now that you have all the facts about lighting, how do you talk to your aging parent about lighting, about how to put more lighting in their house and why you're doing it? It's a great way to get more and more content on the exact same topic. Okay, someone asked me once a long time ago, aren't you going to run out of things to write about and talk about? I'm like, oh no. In all my years of OT, I never ran out of things, because every family presented with something different, something new that I hadn't seen before. So no, you'll never run out of things to talk about. Could be the same topic, but said in different ways. All right. You don't want to also assume that both audiences, older adults and families, are searching the same way. An older adult may type in best shower chair, whereas family members may type in how to stop mom from falling in the shower. It's also the generational thing. A lot of people are used to going on Google and just typing in a short request, a short query, Whereas nowadays, well, actually the last several years, younger generations have learned to type in the entire question, the entire sentence, everything. You get more, better information that way, especially if you're using AI. So you don't want to address your content to just best shower chair. You want to, I mean, you could say best shower chair for someone with dementia, or these are examples of great shower chairs for someone with Parkinson's. We'll make it more specific. You don't want to make it so generalized, as most seniors tend to do search for that way. All right, so here's some real world content examples that I thought might help you out with this. A senior headline for an article might be simple bathroom changes that make everyday life easier. So here you're talking about their dignity, about their independence, and how to make life a little easier. It's like looking up an article on how to keep your house cleaner, an easy way to keep your house cleaner, something like that. But for family, you want to talk about bathroom hazard. The title could be Bathroom Hazards That Put Aging Parents at Risk, because that's what they're thinking about. They're thinking about risk, urgency. What should I be thinking about? What should I do? That kind of thing. Kind of a wonky image that Gamma created, but you get the idea. All right. Example 2, medication management. A good title for seniors would be Easy Ways to Keep Track of Your Medications. And obviously everybody's looking for easy ways to keep track of that. But for adult child, especially if they're on a lot of meds, for adult families or adult child, the warning signs that your parent may be struggling with medication management, because that's what they need to know. They need to know, well, what should I be looking for? Oh, I didn't even think to look for that. So you're activating, or you're increasing that, you're giving them the awareness that they need to be vigilant about this particular thing. It's especially difficult for families who live far apart, because children don't see their parents on a daily basis, so they don't notice these little tiny things. But when they come home to visit, holiday, whatever, and even then, they may not notice, because mom and dad are going to say, oh, we're just fine. Yeah, we're good. Meanwhile, they may not be. All right. A senior headline for an article may be Staying Safe and Confident Behind the Wheel. Because although most older adults will say they can keep driving, that they're fine, they're safe, in the back of their minds, most of them, at least the ones I've spoken to, in the back of their minds, they're thinking, maybe I'm not as safe. I really should, let me see if there's anything that I can do to make it safer. Not all of them. Believe me, there's a lot of people that absolutely deny that they've changed at all in their driving. But it's a possible headline. For families, how to tell if it's time to talk about driving, especially if you just finished a ride with mom and dad, and you held on tight, praying that you got to where you needed to get to. I've been there. It's one of the most difficult conversations to have with an older adult. Now, these days, with more and more driverless type of technology coming out, it can be helpful to switch to something like that. Rideshare programs, it can be helpful to switch to that if they're comfortable. There's more options these days, but definitely take a look at the rideshare options available in the area, because having those options and providing a list of those options and how to contact those options and what each option does, doing that gives the family caregiver a little more ammunition, instead of just saying, look, you shouldn't be driving, give me the keys. It doesn't work that way. All right. So content creation process. This is where the prompt comes in, and I hope you like it. Choose one audience that you're going to write for. Okay. So I'm writing for the seniors, or I'm writing for the children, whatever it is. That's the first thing you want to think about. Now, the prompt that I'm going to give you actually ends up telling you what audience it would be good for once you type in the query. So if you want to begin with a list of questions, problems, issues, you can do that, and then the prompt can help guide you to that particular audience. You want to identify the primary concern. What keeps this person awake at night? Common worries for seniors are losing their ability to live independently, becoming a burden, losing their home, losing their sense of identity and purpose. I know all of those are exactly the issue that my elderly neighbor down the street is having. But for family members, they're worried about missing warning signs, not doing enough because they can't, or they live far away, or they have other responsibilities that are taking their time, making wrong decisions, and the fear of getting that call that something terrible has happened. Your content should speak to these fears. And I think the prompt that I'm using or that I created does that. We'll find out. You tell me. All right. Identify the desired outcome. I want to stay independent. It's what most seniors want. I don't want to burden anybody. I want to stay at home. And the adult child is, I just want my parent to be safe. And they don't often say it, but they want their lives as uninterrupted as possible. Most families will not admit to that, but underlying that is what it is. So write using their language, and I would say also, of course, keep it at a 7th grade level, 6th, 7th grade, because unfortunately, especially here in the U.S., the majority of Americans read at 6th and 7th grade level, not above. So you want to keep the language at that level. Avoid using as much jargon as possible, clinical jargon or whatever, jargon in your industry. You can mention it and then explain it at a 6th or 7th grade level. Because it's just much easier for them to understand and digest. Oh, I keep skipping. All right, and end with never leave the readers with now what, because you want to have a call to action. This is what you can do next. This is the next step. This is who you can contact. This is what I can do for you. Whatever it is, at the end of that article, or in the middle and at the end, if this article speaks to you, if this information speaks to you, if this video speaks to you, if you're in this situation, this is how I can help. These are the next steps that you can take. It's not a salesy thing. You're just educating. You can contact me, or you can contact this person, whatever. You want to be able to give them a next step. All right, so here's the prompt that I have. Go ahead and download it. It'll be attached. It'll also be on the page where this webinar is. But I started using this to create articles, and I think it's creating some really great articles. Now, obviously, this is my prompt. This has my information, so you need to read it, change it to match who you are, what you do, services, whatever. But as always, if you can make the prompt better, then please send it back to me. Share it with me so that I can share it with others, and because I write them, I try them, I'm always tweaking them, and I'm always asking people for help on how to make them better. All right, so the key takeaways from this webinar are: information alone doesn't connect with people, because you have to connect with the right audience at the right stage that they're in. The life stage shapes the decision-making process. Are they just researching? Are they ready to buy? Are they in an emotional crisis mode? All of that, different decisions are going to be made by the seniors and by the families, depending on the stage that they're in. And great content, especially in the aging in place niche, great content always includes an empathetic tone, the type of tone that the reader, whoever it is, can relate to and feel like this person is talking to me, or a video or whatever. That's the situation I'm in. How did they know? That kind of thing. You want to elicit that kind of feeling. All right. It's a long webinar, I know, but I hope the information is useful. And as always, let me know if you have any questions, if you need any help with anything. I'm always here, and I will talk to you later. Take care. Bye.